Thank you, Dave. Canad Inns Stadium, it's the site of the 2006 Grey Cup game. And tonight, the Bombers' home opener as they entertain Ricky Williams and the Toronto Argonauts. Good night for football, a comfortable 23 degrees and a gentle breeze out of the northeast. There is threat of rain a little later this evening. Here's Pinball Clements. His Argos won their opener 27-17 against Hamilton. They were 5-4 on the road last year. While on the other side, Doug Barry's Bombers dropped their opener 27-17 in Montreal. Barry tries for a second time to win his first as a head coach.
And Barry said he wants to win his home games, his divisional games, and the close games. Well, he's got 2 out of 3 on the table right now.
There's a former Bomber. Keith Stokes, in fact, both return men for Toronto tonight have seen action in Winnipeg. Arlen Bruce is also back as Troy Westwood has it on the tee, and we're about set to start week 2 of this young CFL season. And it will be Stokes from his 8. And Keith Stokes works his way out to the 26-yard line. Spurgeon Wynn makes his 6th ever professional start as he takes over for the injured Damon Allen as quarterback for the Argonauts.
And to help him in the backfield, of course, Ricky Williams, 18 carries for 97 yards in game 1. Also had a couple of catches for 24 yards. Receiving core does not change from a week ago against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. There's your offensive line. Mike Mahalik starts for Jude St. John.
Starting lineup brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. Ricky Williams, first kill of the game, stacked up, wrapped up. Bomber defense. Williams pushed the pile for maybe a couple. Ron Warner in on the tackle.
Chris Warner will play beside Doug Brown, who led the team last week in tackles with 6 solos for number 97. Ike Charlton, the newcomer in that linebacking core, along with Barron Simpson. 7 tackles, 1 sack for Barron Simpson in the linebacking core. He led that group, and Ron Ockman, second start at safety.
Just 8 first-half yards last week for Williams. It is 97. Second and 8, and in the flat. Pass intended for Tony Miles. Incomplete with Omar Evans in tight coverage.
Tried to take some pressure off the Argos coaching staff did by running the ball on first down to Ricky Williams. No gain there, basically, so it forced Wynn into a passing situation. An early 2-0 can be good for his confidence.
So impressive coming off the bench early last week, but it's different when you've had a full week to think about it.
And the defense has had a week to prepare for you.
Noel Prefontaine, who is now the number 3 quarterback in the Argos scheme, in to do what he does best. And Gabriel Fulbright, in his first CFL game, the return man, who pulls this one down at the Winnipeg 35, and he's not going anywhere. 46-yard punt, 2 on the return. As Kevin Glenn, who started so well in Montreal but finished with a couple of fourth-quarter interceptions, leads Winnipeg out.
Yeah, he said he'd like 2 throws back, those 2 interceptions. Charles Roberts, pumped up for this game, would like to outrush Ricky Williams across the way from him. Milt Stiegel, the leading receiver in the receiving corps against the Montreal Alouettes with 61 yards. An offensive line with 1 change. Eric Fiacconi in for Val St. Germain at guard.
First down, Winnipeg at their 37. Play action. Glenn rolls and throws into the flat. And it is on the ankle. Chipped over in the corner of the catch and forced out by Kenny Wheaton.
Well, we can talk all we want about Ricky Williams and the offense, but it's been the Argo defense over the last couple of years. It's been their bread and butter. England and Brown anchor that unit. Mark Phelan, a newcomer to the team this year, a CFL veteran, of course. O'Shea still in that linebacking core. Jeff Kelly in his second start for Michael Fletcher. And there is the secondary with 1 newcomer, Jermaine Mays, on the corner for Adrian Smith, who retired.
16 for McCord. And a ball first down at the 53. Again, they fake to Roberts. Glenn directs traffic, and Osterhaus has it go through his hands. And he looked a little more like a backup defensive end there than a big tight end. Osterhaus with a touchdown in game 2 last year, but drops that one.
Well, he'll play tight end in that offense every now and then, and this time he's open. Kevin Glenn buys some time as he rolls to his right. Again, Bombers going with play action on their first 2 plays from the offensive point of view. He gets outside, buys some time. Now Osterhaus is open, but those arms kind of shortened up, didn't they?
Milt Stiegel catches that one.
Yeah.
But nobody ever confused Osterhaus and Stiegel. So 2nd and 10, and here's McCord, his second catch, and another first down. So the Bombers look like the team that started quick a week ago in Montreal.
Yeah, that's game planning, basically, because most coaches will script their first 12 plays, first 15 plays of their offense, and obviously this game plan is a nice one for Kevin Glenn in that he's using play action to freeze the linebackers. When he does that, he gets the flats opened up. You see the linebackers biting down on Charles Roberts. They have to respect him.
McCord's already matched his reception total of a week ago when he had 2 for 26. That's 17 more. And now Charles Roberts gets his hands on the football, makes the first man miss, and twists his way close to the 35. With 5 for Roberts, who was revved up all week, I think, because he only had 12 carries last week, and he doesn't want Ricky Williams to come in here and outshine him.
No, he doesn't. And he went over in practice yesterday to introduce himself to one of his heroes, basically. Charles Roberts watched Ricky Williams. In fact, felt like he wanted to run like him. And Ricky Williams said to the media yesterday, he's looking forward to watching the best running back in the Canadian Football League from a year ago. Ricky Williams wants to watch Roberts as well.
Charles Roberts 3 times in his career over 1,500 yards, 16-24 to win the rushing title last year. 2nd and 5, it will be Roberts, and it will be first down off the left side, and finally wrapped up by Clifford Ivory. Well, he had more yards last week in the first quarter than the rest of the game, but they are back to Charles Roberts early tonight.
And Ricky Williams goes right over to take a look at Charles Roberts. There he is right there. Roberts is going to get to his left. Watch how smooth he is as he makes this move to the outside. Little bounce step right there, and now he's got some space to work with. And you get Charles Roberts in space, and watch out.
11 for Roberts, and a first down for the Bombers. Another Roberts carry and another hole. He's down past the 15 and finally brought down by Michael O'Shea with help from the safety, Orlando Steinauer.
You know, Eric England is one of the top defensive linemen in the league, and he was the guy in charge of filling that gap, but Charles Roberts just outruns the angle. There's Eric England, 95. You can see him reach with his left hand. He's got to fill that gap, and with the great speed of Charles Roberts, he just ran right past that on tackle.
So the Bombers have already matched their first down total of the second half last week against the Alouettes. And it can't be any surprise that Charles Roberts be on his game tonight.
And like most running backs, would like to see the ball a little bit more than week 1.
He was so put out with his lack of running in the second half last week. He said he wanted to change his number, maybe to get the coach's attention. He wanted to change to his college number 32. The Bombers said no.
That was vetoed.
Looks pretty good at number 1 right now. Glenn fakes and into the end zone. Stiegel! Touchdown! Milt Stiegel!
Well, he did the right thing by showing the football, but the question is, did he catch it? Did he get his hands underneath the ball? Or did he trap it? Jordan Younger was over to the officials immediately. We'll take another look. He's going to run a little outside cut. He sees his quarterback in trouble, so he slips back into the middle. Now, does he get his hands underneath this football?
No, he doesn't.
And looks like he caught the back half, Chris. The question is, did it skip off the ground as he did it?
And they are ruling incomplete, and Doug Berry is the man who is going to challenge.
Look, he caught the middle part of the back half of the football.
Well, Milt believes he has number 130, and now he's gone to Doug Berry, and maybe he's telling Berry not to use the challenge. And apparently the Bombers have decided not to.
Yeah, and that's because Milt Stegall, when it was ruled incomplete, because the first official ruled touchdown, they changed that, ruled incomplete. Milt Stegall goes over to Barry and says, I didn't catch it. And save your replay.
And George Black had told us, the head of officiating, that the coaches can throw the flag but then reconsider. And they have done that, and so it is 2nd and 10. Quarterback draw, Kevin Glenn inside the 5 and has a first down at the 3.
Well, and that's one of the things, Chris. It's a nice play for Kevin Glenn, and one that I'm sure the Argo defense didn't see coming, because he's a guy who's not known for his running ability, but does a nice job here. But to get to that point about the officiating and replay, as it starts, and this is initiated in the CFL this year, the official will actually go to the coaches and talk to them about whether or not that's even a reviewable play. So that's why they have the option to change their mind. At least for now they do.
So there will be a measurement to determine if Glenn did get the full 10, and he does. And this merry march continues, and it's just as impressive as the one we saw to open last week.
That's a tendency breaker type of play, because the tendencies for the Bomber offense would not be quarterback draw to Kevin Glenn.
First and goal from the 3. Charles Roberts, touchdown! Second straight week, the Bombers march for a touchdown on their opening drive.
Well, I love the play calling from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to start out by using Charles Roberts as a decoy. The first 2-3 plays of this series was all play action to Charles Roberts and quick throws to Quentin McCord. Once they got that established and the Toronto defense was worried about that and the passing game, they went back to Charles Roberts. Great balance, and it kept the Argonaut defense off balance throughout that entire drive.
He may be 5'6", 171, but he showed that strength he has and a nose for the goal line as the Bombers draw first blood here in Winnipeg. 3-yard touchdown run for Charles Roberts. It was an 84-yard touchdown drive to open the game last week. This time, 9 plays, 73 yards, and just under 5 minutes taken off the clock.
Last week, Charles Roberts averaged 5.9 a carry. He's at 7.5 early in this game after that first drive.
Stokes awaits. Second kickoff of the game from Troy Westwood. Across the 30 for Keith Stokes. Special teams player of the year in Winnipeg in 2004, and he brings that back 28 yards. So Spurgeon Wynn back on after a 2-and-out. He had 3 starts in the NFL. In 2003, when regular season started with the BC Lions, an overtime loss against Toronto. He also started a playoff game and lost against Toronto. So this is second regular season CFL start, and still looking for his first pro win as a starter. Ricky Williams. Gotta get outside. Terry Gamble at the 38 drops him behind the line of scrimmage. It's a loss of 4.
Well, the panel talked about it before the game in the pregame show about how every defender in the CFL is going to be a little bit more pumped up to play against number 27 for the Argos. And this was a similar situation for Ricky Williams a week ago against Hamilton early on. Hamilton defenders keyed up to go after him, let them know that they're out there. Billy Malvo that time did the job. And as the game wore on, Ricky Williams got better. See what happens tonight.
Second and 14. Bombers blitzing, flag down. R.J. Sauer, the intended receiver. And Anthony Malbrough covering him, incomplete. Did the Bombers jump?
All the Bomber defensive linemen, or at least 3/4 of them, were standing up before the snap. Uncharacteristic of the defensive linemen. Normally they're down in a 3-point stance. Depends on whether or not they jumped or were drawn.
And the movement was on the Argos side. And
offside. Trotter number 88. Penalty supply. Third down.
Robert Baker at the guilty party. Murray Clark in charge of proceedings tonight.
Take a look at that right there. You see how they're all in the stand-up position, and that causes problems for that offensive line for the Argos, and they move early.
Doug Barry talking about that formation just to keep the offense guessing. Fulbright, and he is brought down immediately. Good downfield coverage by the Argonauts. Ryan Crawford. Midway through the first quarter in Winnipeg, Sean Churchill's on the sidelines.
Thank you very much, Chris. Earlier you talked about the possible number change for Charles Roberts. Well, I talked to him yesterday, and that number change will happen next week. As it played out earlier this week in practice, Doug Barry decided to change the uniform colors. Normally the offense wears white, the defense wears blue, but when Charles got his blue jersey, it had the number 32 on. It happens to be the number that he wore through college and high school, so being superstitious, he's decided to keep it. That'll happen next week, guys.
Big screen to Chris Brazel up to the 35-yard line. Brazel has 8. Charles Roberts, when he wore 32 at Sacramento State, the all-time leading rusher in Division II football.
Well, Charles Roberts it's not a bad marketing move when you think about it. I mean, there's been a whole lot of sales of Winnipeg #1 jerseys. Now people will be out buying 32 jerseys, and they have another color if they'd like as well. So good PR move. Charles Roberts gets the number he'd rather have.
Unless you're a Roberts fan wearing #1 right now. Here's Roberts, 2nd and 2. And another first down carry as he crashes to the 40.
Well, I will say this. Charles Roberts as #1 often looks like he's hitting that hole and making himself so small and skinny. And that #1 can only help that. I mean, if I were going to walk around downtown right now, I'd want to wear #1. If you know what I'm saying. Not 32. It makes you a little wider looking. And maybe that's what Charles Roberts is going for.
He seems to be tracking what's going on in Toronto with Williams, and maybe he's heard about the sales of number 27 in Toronto. Here's a toss to Roberts, and he's cut down at the 45 by the safety, Orlando Steinauer.
Jeff Kelly makes a nice play here from the linebacking position for the Toronto Argonauts, along with Orlando Steinauer. Jeff Kelly in there playing for Michael Fletcher in his second start as just a rookie. He comes in here and slashes in there pretty well. You're going to see 51 just try and blow it up. That caused 51 right there and flashed across your screen. That caused Roberts to turn it up.
Kelly in with the injury to Michael Fletcher, the All-Canadian. There's a completion for the third catch and shoot him a first down at the 50. Kevin Glenn was besieged with criticism this week after his second-half performance in Montreal. And Doug Barry took the heat off and said all he has to do, trust his reads. What mistakes were made last week were shared by not only the quarterback, but the offensive line, even the coaches.
Oh, without question. And let's also throw in the protection that Kevin Glenn had early on in that game and started to lose as the game progressed. Montreal came with that blitz package, and Mike Abu-Meshrik will be the first to tell you as he switched to that tackle position, he struggled in that game, had some legal procedure calls, some holding calls, and he was pulled into Doug Barry's office and had a stern talking to about penalties and that he could play better at that spot. So a lot of things started to break down against a very good team on the road for Winnipeg, but Doug Barry was happy, generally speaking, with what he saw.
Yes, he called Abu-Meshrik in at 8 the next morning, so he dealt with it quickly. A first down, staying on the ground with Charles Roberts to midfield and 5 more.
You know, and for Kevin Glenn, it was really a matter of 2 poor throws with the game on the line and Winnipeg in a tied position. This throw here on a corner, which is a tough throw to make, looked like he had Quentin McCord. That was picked off by Chip Cox, and Cox got him again, the rookie in Montreal, right there as he tried to throw on the run. So, you know, 2 bad throws ruined what was a pretty good night up until that point, and in fact, Winnipeg was right in the game on the scoreboard at that point.
Kevin Glenn in his last 4 starts has not thrown a touchdown pass. Guns downfield, 3rd and intended, and Clifford Ivory nearly had the pick.
Yeah, Clifford Ivory's in his 7th year in the Canadian Football League, his 5th with the Toronto Argonauts, and the best way to describe Clifford Ivory to the right of your screen is he's a playmaker. And he's going to stay in the trail position, meaning he is going to let Andre Thurman believe that he is open down the seam and wait till the ball arrives. He just forgot to catch him. But he is an all-out playmaker in that secondary.
And he knows his way to the end zone as a defensive player. 8 career touchdowns. Ryan Claiborne into punt. Bad snap, but he's in trouble. Claiborne picks it up, and there is the playmaker. Clifford Ivory doubting him back at the 21. So an errant snap gives the Argos some life. Or snap by Chris Vetkovich. Eluded the punter Brian Claiborne, and the Argos have the football at the Winnipeg 22-yard line. Williams the lone setback. They back to him the shovel, Chuck Johnson. And he is dropped at the 17-yard line. And let's take a look at what happened on the snap from
Svetkovic just, yeah, and I mean, he just wants it back. It's a bad snap to the right. Now, Claiborne has an option here. If he turns around and tries to kick it out the back of the end zone for a safety, they gain that field position back. But he was about 30 yards from that end zone. And if he gets draw weight and it ends up in there, Clifford Ivory has a touchdown.
He might have touchdown number 9 of his career. 2nd and 4. Out of the shotgun. Win. Hit. Ball is loose. Well, let's see, are they going to rule this an incompletion or a fumble? They're ruling a fumble, and we may see a challenge. And Wynn says his arm is moving forward.
Yeah, and this is a call that they can challenge. Was Spurgeon Wynn's arm moving forward?
Well, his wrist flicked, but I don't know if that arm was moving. And it is a fumble recovery by the Bombers. Greg Marshall's defense. So now we're going to get a challenge.
Mike Clemens Mike Clemens has the opportunity to challenge the call as long as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers do not snap the football for the next play.
And they wanted to wait to get a look upstairs. They've seen our replay, and I think they believe there's enough evidence now to challenge this call.
Doug Brown, nice swim move right over the middle. He's the guy who gets the pressure. Was the arm moving forward, and therefore it would be ruled an incomplete forward pass.
Neil McKinley, the Simon Fraser product, with the recovery. But was it a fumble?
Boy, it really looked like that arm was in a forward motion when he was hit. Now, was it that his body was going back so fast that it looks like his arm's going forward, or was he actually trying to throw the football? And that's what they'll have to take a look at now as the official goes inside that replay box.
You mentioned Doug Brown with the heat on, and Brian Chu told you last week that Doug Brown was a handful.
Yeah, he said watch Doug Brown this year, and it was 2 parts. Brian Chu, one of the perennial all-stars in the Canadian Football League at center for Montreal, explained to me that, boy, Doug Brown is not only playing as good as he's ever seen him play, as good as he's ever seen any interior lineman play. So 90 seconds for the officials to look at this play.
Let's take another look as Murray Clark is under the hood, doing likewise to assess whether this fumble will stand.
No, it looked like he was, you know, when you see that angle, Chris, it almost looks like he was just trying to avoid the tackle and lifting his his right arm around the tackle of Doug Brown, not necessarily throwing it forward.
I don't know if this is conclusive evidence to overturn the initial call.
And that's what they have to find.
There is a flick of the wrist there. And
yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
And the guys are saying the arm looks like it's going forward, or was the rest of the body going backwards? I bet you Matt Denigan's, well, I shouldn't guess, but as a quarterback, Matt probably he thinks that ball was being delivered.
He's out of his chair right now. Well, you know, Spurgeon Wynn jumped up immediately when after the official saying he was trying to throw. There was no hesitation there. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's right. Just means that he felt like he was going forward. Sorry.
90 seconds is up, and that means the official must make a determination.
Here he comes now.
back in. I saw last week one of the games. We will not center out the guilty party, but there was a 90-second review that went about 2 minutes last week.
Well, and this will take time early on, and I think we all have to, including the fans and everybody, has to be a little bit patient as they get the system down. But certainly it's a concern. You don't want the games extending too long and the momentum changing because of a replay.
Big call coming up.
After review, the quarterback's arm is moving forward. Pass is ruled incomplete. Second down.
Good challenge, and it's a good challenge by Mike Clement simply because it gives him an opportunity for 3 points.
So it goes as an incompletion.
You know, and I think you're right. He won it with the flick of the wrist. Doug Barry hates it, obviously, but it may have been just that little flick of the wrist, Chris, that was enough to convince the officials that it was enough to overturn, because that's what sold it, clearly.
And in just 2 games, in fact, 5 quarters, we've seen a little fire from Doug Barry on the sidelines. He is not happy with that ruling.
Well, and I think he wanted to make sure the down marker here, Chris, on the sideline had second down. And I think Doug Barry wanted to go out and remind everyone that it was actually third down.
That was an incompletion, cost them a down. It is third down. And Prefontaine comes on. 4 for 5 last week, missed from 46. This from 24. And it's good. Argos are on the board. Catch Wednesday CFL on TSN tomorrow night. We'll be in the Alberta capital, Calgary. The Stampeders taking on the Eskimos. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And reverse with that late rally last Saturday.
Third down gamble turned into a touchdown to Nick Lewis was the difference for the Calgary Stampeders, but different venue.
And a little more focus on that game from the folks in Edmonton tomorrow than last Saturday when something else seemed to be on the mind.
I can't remember what it was.
So the Bombers have opted to have the Argos kick it off. (7-3) Winnipeg with the lead, and Fulbright, backup defensive back, drops deep. But this will be a man who started in the Argo training camp, Shotgun Davis, up near the 35-yard line, and a flag down on the play. Davis in because Albert Johnson was injured last week in Montreal.
Kevin Glenn looked pretty good so far in this game, and last year when he was in there was better at home. And you look at the completion percentage, touchdown passes to interceptions, you want to keep that ratio 2 or 3 to 1. In favor of touchdowns, obviously played better at home. And Doug Barry, I mentioned off the top, talked about the importance of 3 things: winning his home games, winning his divisional games, and remember Winnipeg's in the East. And he said if it gets close at the end, we got to win those as well. If we do that, we should be in the playoffs and have a good season. Well, they've got the home, they've got the divisional matchup. We'll see if it stays close.
The way I read it, if you win your home games and you win your divisional games, you're going to have about 14 wins.
That's a
good plan.
He covered them all.
There was an illegal block on the play, and this is Charles Roberts turning it 4 yards, busting tackles to the 40-yard line. 18 more for the top running back in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Because Charles Roberts had to switch hands. That handoff went in late. He takes some big hits. Antonius Bonner loves to lower the boom. He stepped in there, and Roberts just bounced off that one.
Pretty good with a chip on his shoulder, doesn't he? He was a little upset when the Bombers brought Ontario Smith into training camp. He won that job easily. Now he's showing Ricky Williams a thing or two. There is a flag, and it may negate another first down romp by Charles Roberts.
We'll see what happened on the penalty. It looked like this one may be coming back, but Roberts has been on fire in this first quarter so far. Breaking tackles, doing what he does well, which is bouncing to the outside and using his quickness to get the edge on a defending tackler. 7.9-yard average so far for Charles Roberts, and that last play, however, will come back for a holding call.
Holding call, didn't get the number. 18 penalties, 171 yards against Winnipeg last week.
McGarren Fiacconi was called on the holding, playing at that guard position, number 55.
He's a right guard for the injured Val St. Germain. So it's 1st and 20. Back at the 30. Graham Bell, the backup, running back. Short gain. He had a good week on special teams in Montreal with a couple of tackles. You know, Doug Brown was saying yesterday, Ricky Williams, we won't take anything away from him, but I'd fear facing Charles Roberts on this field more than Ricky Williams. Now, that might be a teammate talking,
yeah,
but there may be a lot of defensive players in the league that agree.
No question, with his quickness and the size of this field, it's tough. It's tough to track down number one.
2nd and 17. Here comes Eric England. They screen to Roberts, but he's not going anywhere. Michael O'Shea with the tackle. 9 last week against Hamilton for O'Shea. Tied for the league lead after week 1, and he makes a big tackle here on Roberts.
Yeah, and Michael O'Shea has seen this a few times in his career. I mean, and this is not a bad call by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where O'Shea is just, he's in man-to-man on Charles Roberts. So as soon as he gets out there, he's going to go and track him down. But not a bad call, simply because you try and take what you can, punt the football, if you're the Bombers, when you're second and that long.
This time the snap's okay. Claiborne's punt, bouncing to Stokes at the Argo 40-yard line. There's Bell, first contact. Stokes broke the tackle, and he ends up at the 47. Met by Tom Canada and Sean Gallant. Well, we've seen a lot of Charles Roberts so far, and see how Ricky Williams responds. He's -2 on the evening so far.
Well, again, early in that game against Hamilton, Ricky Williams didn't have a whole lot of yards. And it was the second half when the defense started to tire. Remember, Ricky Williams is still getting into not only game shape, but CFL game shape, which is different than the National Football League in a big way.
Should be the final play, opening quarter. Pressure on Williams. The screen went through the hands of Williams.
Yeah, and you know what Ricky Williams did there? He tried to come back to the football to buy himself some space, and in doing so, he lost the ball.
It'll be 2nd and 10, Toronto. When we come back, the Bombers have the first quarter lead. First quarter stats are brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
Well, the Toronto Argonauts under Spurgeon Wynn struggling offensively, or maybe we should give some credit to the Winnipeg defense, because there was also a sudden change situation on the poor snap in the punt formation for Winnipeg. Great field position for Spurgeon Wynn, and he couldn't capitalize. The Argonauts had to settle for a field goal.
And more evidence that the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense is vastly improved.
Oh, have they ever. And you got to go to Baron Simpson in the middle of that defense, and Doug Brown, and guys that are really shoring up the run defense. Last game versus Montreal, just 73 yards and -2 so far after 1 quarter against Ricky Williams. So clearly this Winnipeg defense has improved from a year ago.
And it's not a bad defense when you leave your offense on the field 10 minutes of the first quarter of football. 2nd and 10 for the Argonauts, and Wynn has delivered a strike to Robert Baker, who twists into Winnipeg territory at the 51. That's a first down.
I talked to Ken Austin and the coaching staff for the Toronto Argonauts about Spurgeon Wynn and what they expected from him. He's coming back to Winnipeg. Didn't get a chance. Didn't get 1 snap in a game last year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a team that struggled. And the concern was, would he try and do too much? And they didn't think he would, that he just has to continue to make his reads and deliver the football.
12 yards to Baker. The initial first down for the Argo offense. And Wynn through the hands of Arlen Bruce, the former Bomber. Incomplete. Our condolences to the Bruce family. Arlen just arriving from his grandfather's funeral. The original Arlen Bruce passing away earlier in the week.
Ken Austin again was mentioning to me about Spurgeon Wynn, about how he loves his decision-making process. He thinks he has everything to take that next step with regards to that. It just has to happen a little bit quicker.
Looks like he's getting a little more heat from this Bomber D than a week ago. Here they come. Wynn gets it away. It's a completion, and Bruce stopped at the 45. He'll be short of the first down. Mike Charlton, the rookie linebacker, with the tackle.
Well, and this is, again, we'll go back to Ken Austin, and Ken Austin talking about the decision-making process and how Spurgeon Wynn has great poise in the pocket. This time he's under tremendous pressure from the outside, but he maintains his poise and dumps the football off. A good decision to be made, but maybe get that ball out a little bit quicker.
Donovan Carter, the former Argonaut, with the pressure on Spurgeon Wynn. Prefontaine into attempt a 52-yarder. 50 his longest a year ago. And the left footer's got plenty of leg, and he's got it. Prefontaine makes it a one-point game. First 50-yard field goal in the league this year off the foot of Noel Prefontaine. While last week the Bombers were criticized for their decision. Doug Barry tried a 49-yarder with the lead and didn't make it.
They're always a gamble. Those long field goals, boy, you have to have confidence in your kicker. You got great returners that turn the game around.
Twin tight ends. Roberts. Jonathan Brown in pursuit. Antonio Splatter gets there. And from the rookie Jermaine Mays as they string it out. No gain for Roberts.
Really, strategically, those long field goals become crucial because coaches now have to weigh a few things when they think about kicking a long field goal. Number one, can my kicker make it? Clearly, Mike Clements knows that Noel Prefontaine can make those long ones. But if he misses with the returners in this league and offensive linemen covering those kicks, boy, the chance of a big return are huge. So they're a huge gamble for coaches to try the long ones now.
6 receivers out for Glenn. Quick hitter to Brazel, and a sure tackle on the play, holding it to 2 yards as Kenny Wheaton stepped up.
Yeah, but Chris, that's the second hitch pass out there to Chris Brazel. And as a defender, a former defender from way back, my thinking now, if I'm Kenny Wheaton or I'm Jermaine Mays out there at the outside or Jordan Younger, I'm thinking that's 2 hitches in a row. The next one is a hitch and go.
And it's going the great. Clayburn back in. First snap didn't get to him. That one on the numbers. That's his best pick. Robin Stokes back to the 25. It's one tackle, flag down. Reggie Ball can't get him. The Snakes losing more yardage. And finally down. Graham Bell brings him to the turn for loss of 2 after a 47-yard punt. Brings you the 2006 NHL entry draft from Vancouver. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, and there may be more than just drafts tomorrow. It'll be an interesting day. 15-yard no yards penalty tacked on the return. So Kevin Glenn and the Bombers from their 39. Charles Roberts up the middle. Another good gain for Roberts, hauled down by Uxbridge native Jeff Keeping. Orlando Steinauer's mic'd, and let's check in with the sounds of the game.
There we go! Friday night football tonight. Be ready. Watch out for them Argonauts.
So right now it's D outside, but if you see 2 and you don't hear the call, just know it's outlaw. Bang route, AB, bang route!
Well, you love it when the safeties, Mike, don't you?
He's quarterbacking back there, and he has to. The one guy he was talking to in the first one was Jermaine Mays, the rookie that's playing on the corner, trying to get him straight. make sure he knows all the checks. The safety's responsibility is to check the defenses. If the offense comes in a formation that the defense that's called does not match up with, then he has to change it on the fly. That comes from 21. He's got to communicate it to everyone in that secondary. So Steinauer with the mic on should be interesting tonight.
Reginbald, the first down carry. Steinauer loves playing the Bombers. 40 career interceptions, 11 picks against Winnipeg. First and 10. Roberts again, this time he slipped and nowhere to go. Well, they're operating against one of the most formidable defenses in the CFL, and if not the best, maybe the most consistent. They're the average numbers last year, and check the yardage last week surrendered against Hamilton.
Well, they didn't make a lot of changes. I mean, you got that veteran secondary back there with the one change of Jermaine Mays, and Rick Stugler, the defensive coordinator, knows that his players back there know the system, and it's a difficult system. You have to know it well to play it well, and the Argos do that.
Stugler, 3 years running the defense. Second and 13. Stiegel's wide open at the Toronto 45 as he found some room in Stugler's defense.
It's a play for Kevin Glenn that two things have to happen. The first one is Kevin Glenn has to have time to throw this football because it's a long developing route. You see he comes out of there, looks to his right. No Argonaut defender around him. He also needs Stiegel to get into that open area, and he knows he'll do that.
First down. Roberts trying to get outside. And he'll lose yardage back across the 50-yard line. And there's the safety, Orlando Steinauer, to finish things off.
Eric England started things out. Steinauer just pursues. Once that ball is committed to Roberts, who's right back here in your screen, once it's committed to him, now it's a foot race. Steinauer closes. Eric England buys Steinauer some time. He's up there making a nice tackle.
You know, Doug Barry was concerned scrutinizing last year's film. He thought Roberts lost yards 1 out of every 7 carries. He said that was too many. And he's lost yardage on 2 carries on this drive. Second and long. Stiegel's got it. Another first down conversion to the touchdown Beagle, Milt Stiegel.
Wow, what a great matchup. Two pros, Milt Stiegel and Orlando Steinauer, trying to gain position, and Stiegel wins this battle. He gets inside of Steinauer, who's playing in the deep middle and has to turn his hips. A little move. Watch how Steinauer drops back in the middle. See how he opens his shoulders? Now he's got to do a speed turn, and he's blind to Stiegel as that ball arrives. The timing is perfect, and Stiegel gets that inside position he needed.
8 straight 1,000-yard seasons. And a 25-yard pickup for Stiegel. Bombers deploy twin tight ends. Short drop, second option. Osterhaus, and he was bumped by Steinauer, and there is no flag. As Steinauer and Osterhaus collided.
And I was about to say, Chris, Steinauer won this battle because he's taken this one the other way. He had this ball all the way down the line. Kevin Glenn takes a little too long. The timing is not there. Look at Steinauer's position, and he is hit by Scott Reginbald. I don't think looked at the football. That is offensive pass interference. It is not reviewable because penalties aren't, or the lack of them. But that is offensive pass interference if there ever was.
You don't think that was incidental contact?
Oh, no. He stopped him from getting to the football.
Another pump, and Glenn looks to the end zone. And Stiegel in double coverage. Kenny Wheaton and Jordan Younger were in the neighborhood. And now Milt has a beef.
Milt Stiegel's going to try and run a two-cut move. Basically, he wants to go out, make it look like he's running that flat play and then go up. It's the out-and-up play. And Jordan Younger gets underneath. He's got a little inside help from Kenny Wheaton. The Argonauts didn't bite on that one. In man-to-man with a little over-the-top help from Wheaton.
So Westwood on to attempt from 34 yards. Troy Westwood. A 10-6 Williams. Blue Bomber lead. Well, racing fans, TSN brings you the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix from Montreal. Catch qualifying tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific. And coverage of the race begins Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Montreal will be rocking this weekend. Ricky Williams under the pile.
So far, a slow night for Ricky Williams.
And last week, Mike Clemens said the same thing. He felt he underperformed or was underachieving in the first half and did more than expected in the fourth quarter. It's been all Charles Roberts so far in this game. Second win, turfed back at the 30-yard line.
One of the reasons Ricky Williams is having his struggles in this one, and the reasons that the Argos are in general on offense, is the play of that defensive line led by Doug Brown. Doug Brown is dominating in the middle. He is in the backfield. The penetration from the front four, amazing so far for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He ran past the double team. Doug Brown right here, right by the double team, excuse me, right there, by the double team as he goes up through. Right past them both on the way to the quarterback.
That was Jonathan Landon at left guard. He has replaced Mike Mahalik. And Doug Brown with the sack. We've got a timeout on the field. Bombers with the lead.
The defensive coordinator. He knows what he's doing.
Well, David Allen injured last week. He'll be out at least a month. And so it's Spurgeon Wynn's offense. And you talked to Pinball Clements about whether we might see Eric Crouch, another Heisman Trophy winner in the Argos arsenal, if indeed Wynn had trouble tonight.
Well, and Eric Crouch, a great athlete, a good running quarterback, didn't have a tremendous preseason, and I think if it was up to Mike Clements, and he sort of alluded to it, he's going to go with Spurgeon Wynn from start to finish.
Not ready yet was the assessment of Crouch, unless he has to go in. If something happened to Wynn, there would be no other option. Here's Stokes. Trying to give that Argo offense good field position out across the 30. Neil McKinley, one of the first Bombers downfield, but Spurgeon Wynn finding it much tougher here in Winnipeg than his relief job against Hamilton last week.
Yeah, and probably Brendan Taman right now, the GM for the Bombers, is resting a little easier as he watches this first half of play. But give credit to this Winnipeg defense. I mean, they haven't, the Argos have not established Ricky Williams. They're having trouble running the football. Puts Spurgeon Wynn in second along a bunch.
Two back, Johnson in motion. Ricky Williams, nothing doing. Stuffed and Baron Simpson.
Yeah. 7 tackles for Baron Simpson, and Baron Simpson is the run stopper, the pure run stopper in the middle linebacking spot. Watch him slide. He's going to the back, right back into the hole, is patient, and is right there to meet Ricky Williams with some help from Tom Canada.
Yeah, Tom Canada there. Simpson led the CFL his first 3 years in tackles. No running game yet for the Argos. Second and long. And he'll be short of the first down. A catch at the Toronto 40.
Well, already the Argos making some adjustments up front in their offensive line to see if they can't get something going offensively. And the one way they're doing that is to double team Doug Brown, number 97. He's been so dominant in this first half that now they've got to leave 2 inside on him. You're going to see Chad Folk right there. Mike Mahalik is going to stick with him. They don't want to let him get free. He's been in that backfield all game.
Doug Brown hosts a radio show here in Winnipeg, an hour-long show. And in the hour last week, in advance of the Toronto Argonaut game, not once did he mention Ricky Williams. I don't know whether that was an editorial comment that Ricky Williams is getting too much attention, but completely ignored like a good defensive tackle turned radio announcer.
Well, he's done a good job so far, but with Ricky Williams, you'll have to do it all game long.
Yeah, hard to ignore him once he gets onto the field, although contained totally in this first half. Again, Fulbright will get a no-yards penalty against the Argos and then drilled by Prefontaine. And we've seen this before.
Yeah.
He's not just the kicker.
I was going to say, we used to be surprised. I mean, early on in Noel Prefontaine's career, which was 9 years ago now, you know, we were surprised when he would come down. He's right in front of Michael O'Shea right here. And watch this. Hey, we're not surprised anymore.
No, but Fulbright might be.
Yeah, he thought that was a free one. He was going to go right around that guy. That's the kicker, no problem. Whoa! What is that?
And a nice close-up of Prefontaine, and in the background, Abi Khan, the big center for Winnipeg, was actually smiling as if
No yards.
he was giving
On number 45.
Prefontaine his props.
5-yard penalty. First down.
So now the Bombers have 25 seconds. They have the ball at their own 40. Does Kevin Glenn sit on the 7-point lead, or do they take a shot or two?
Well, you know, Charles Roberts has been pretty strong on first down. I think you stick with him. You get out of the half with a lead. 25 seconds disappear here pretty quickly.
Look up! Sidelines. 85 is always an option, although that was delivered high.
I love aggressive. I love aggressive, and when you're thinking offensively, always wanting to think about those points. But are they going to be able to drive the ball that far in 25 seconds? Now 21. That's a very risky throw to throw the sideline out against Kenny Wheaton, who was very close.
2nd and 10. Yeah, the risk and reward on that play at this juncture of the game.
There you go.
It's a better option. Roberts spinning, brought down by Antonius Bonner.
Now a good punt here from the Bombers, and the field position is such that Spurgeon Wynn really does not have time to do anything. So
they'll likely kill the clock and then punt away and go to the room with the Bombers in the lead.
Now the Bombers had the lead a week ago for the majority of that game. Got into the 4th quarter before Montreal tied it up, and then it slipped away. You also have to learn how to win when you're struggling.
It's a carbon copy, really, first half in a lot of ways for the Bombers. And they just take a knee and kill the clock. Doug Barry, in search of his first CFL head coaching victory, has the lead at halftime in Winnipeg. Let's join Dave Randorf.
All the people's out there in TV land. Hey, Mom, Dad, you know what time it is.
But we can't get to the cup without this game. We need this game. Right. No regrets, no excuses, no excuses, no regrets. On 3. 1, 2, 3. No excuses, no regrets.
Friday Night Football, here we go.
Anniversary for Friday Night Football.
TSN is proud to present this game in high definition, courtesy of Sony, and available in 5.1 digital Dolby surround sound. Well, the Bombers had a substantial edge statistically in the opening half and have a 7-point lead through 30 minutes.
And again, they'll have to maintain that, and most importantly, their intensity on the defensive side of the ball, because that defensive line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers so far really reestablishing the line of scrimmage, and it's put a lot of pressure on that Argonaut offense.
And in the matchup of running backs so far tonight, it has been very one-sided.
Well, first of all, a lot more carries for Charles Roberts over Ricky Williams, but Williams just 5 touches out of the backfield and doesn't have a whole lot to show for it just yet. Again, full credit to the defensive line for the Bombers. Charles Roberts seen the ball a lot more in that first half.
Fulbright and Davis deep to accept the opening kickoff of the second half. And this is the Toronto Argonauts cut. Shockman Davis up across the 45. Got a call on Father's Day to come in when Albert Johnson was shaken up in Montreal, and a good return. Well, Charles Roberts, the story of the opening half here in Winnipeg.
And still trying to get some equipment adjustments made, but there you go. It carries 17-5. Now Ricky Williams will see the ball likely more in the second half, like he did a week ago when he started to rack up some serious yards. But Charles Roberts, so far, if it's not broken, why try and fix it?
He did a little sales job, I think, this week publicly, maybe trying to send a message to the coach. He said, I'm still the best running back in the CFL, but it looks like the Argos are more of a running team right now. Trying to say, I want as many carries as Ricky Williams. And he certainly has upped his totals in this game, but met quickly by Jeff Kelly there on the first carry of the second half.
Adjustments made already by that Argonaut defense. When you look at the first half possessions for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, got that early Roberts touchdown. He was very important in that first drive and a couple of field goals. So Rich Stubler's adjustment, get more penetration up front. You can see that defensive line linebacking core in the 34 defense for Toronto, more active on that last play.
Roberts loses 2, now lines up at a receiver position. 6 receivers out. And there's Stiegel with the catch. Jordan Younger quickly there to limit Stiegel's progress.
Remember, we talked about just before the half, the adjustments that the Argos may try and make is to cancel gaps. Well, one way to cancel gaps, and I know it's second down here, but way to cancel gaps, get everybody up on the line of scrimmage. So just take a look at this area of the field. That area of the field is where all the Argonaut defenders sit. They're trying to take away any gaps and make sure they get pressure on the quarterback. In this case, it's second down, but don't be surprised to see it on first down as well.
Claiborne kicking to Stokes. They're cornering Stokes near the 30-yard line. Argos on offense when we return to Winnipeg. After a roughing penalty, the ball at the 51 of Winnipeg. The Argos down by 7, but good field position here just past the 5-minute mark of the third quarter. Spurgeon Wynn finds Tony Miles. And Miles with some good yak yardage after the catch.
Okay, Damon, there you go. I think you had 3 receivers one side, 2 on the other.
We had 3 receivers and two receivers on one side, and obviously that was a quick game. A 3-step drop. He's reading the softness of the coverage, and
okay.
JJ, it was in cut coverage, and JJ set in the hole. And the corner was a little bit soft, so he ended up going outside. So there's 2 double hitches on the boundary. So now we're thinking about getting some yards on first down, being more efficient on first down, which allows us to do some of the better things we want to do in running the football.
Ike Charlton trips up Ricky Williams, and it's a loss on another Williams carry.
Damon, that's the second time you talked about first down success. This one trying to get it with Ricky Williams.
It's a pick coming around. It's a sweep route, but Carlton did a great job of actually containing. Malvo came up and took out 2 blockers, which allowed the loss. So they're playing very good defense too versus the run.
They've held Ricky Williams to 3 yards on 7 carries. Right in trouble back at midfield. Brought down by the safety, Ron Akami.
Now, my inclination here would be to think screen draw on second and long to try and alleviate some of that pressure. Is it in the package to help Spurgeon win?
Not really. We're down the field throwing the football team. So, I think even in that situation, it went to cover 0. Instead of looking for the deep guy that may be covered, you may have to dump it off and take your medicine and end up kicking or possibly getting in the field goal range at that situation instead of taking a sack. Sack was probably the worst thing that we always talk about you want to do, especially you're in the scoring area.
I guess that's
because we do have a great kicker.
You do, and he made a long one already here tonight of 50 yards. But I guess again you're talking about managing the football game.
We got defense back in Winnipeg, baby. Y'all better wake up.
That is true. I mean, it was 2nd and 13, like I said, versus any team in the league. It's very difficult to convert 2nd and 15 on a regular basis. So you have to be successful on first down.
Omar Evans shaken up. We're going to take a timeout. Damon, thanks for joining us, and Argo fans can't wait to see you back in the lineup.
I really do want to be back on the field.
Great, Damon. Thanks very much.
Well, it's one of the great events on the Canadian sports calendar. Tune in for the 147th running of the Queen's Plate live from Woodbine in Toronto. Coverage begins Sunday, 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. Well, the Argos had great field position, but back-to-back losses. First Williams, then the sack on Wynn. And Prefontaine has to kick it away, angling it, and Fulbright at his 10. Makes two men miss, and then drilled as he crosses the 15-yard line. A reminder, the fourth quarter, you can cast your vote for the Rogers Player of the Game. Whether he's number 32 or number 1, this man will get some attention. You can text message your vote using your Rogers phone during the fourth quarter and send to Go CFL. Rogers brings you the 2006 FIFA World Cup video highlights on the latest MP3 phones.
No question, Charles Roberts will get some votes. I might vote for 97 wearing gold at this point.
You could make a strong case for the defensive side of the football in this one. Somebody move quick. I'm sure somebody told Doug Barry there'd be days like this or moments like this.
Yeah, but this goes back, and you know, he's got to be having a bit of a flashback with his team playing so well, especially on defense.
Take number 55, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
He's having a flashback to Winnipeg, where this is when it started to fall apart. Penalties that were unnecessary penalties. Now it looks fairly even, in fact, bang on at 8-8, but those are penalties that are avoidable.
Fiacone called. Again, the guard replacing Val St. Germain. Roberts off the right side. Gets back close to the original line of scrimmage, and Antonius Bonner, the 11-year CFL veteran, with the tackle.
There's going to be penalties that coaches don't mind that their players take. Stuff like when you hit the quarterback just at the echo of the whistle, or you're playing aggressively and get a face mask by accident. Things like that happen. A legal procedure after the whistle blows to get a penalty for taunting or talking too much, trash talking, those are avoidable.
Six-pack of receivers. Second down, and that pass, not sure who it was intended to, looked well behind Andre Thurman.
Yeah, and Andre Thurman was supposed to go down the seam. And you could tell Kevin Glenn's going to go over. He wants to get his attention, but he won't point him out while everybody's watching Kevin Glenn come off the field. Andre Thurman decided to break his route off, put the brakes on, and Kevin Glenn threw it right down the seam. It's going to come down this side, and Thurman, his job is to get deep and get down on top of the secondary. See how he turned into the middle? Steinauer had the best chance at that ball.
Well, that's the fourth consecutive 2-and-out in this second half for the Winnipeg offense. And Stokes again accepting the punt in Winnipeg territory. Just a 32-yard kick and 4 on the return. Argos called for holding on the return, and that brings the ball back across midfield. They've had the better field position so far in the opening 8.5 minutes of the third quarter, but haven't been able to do anything with it yet. Win, 20 miles. And wrestled down by Stanford Samuels. Omar Evans, by the way, has not returned for Winnipeg, and so Gabriel Fulbright, the rookie in his first CFL game, is on the wide side corner.
And that's where they'll leave him. In other words, when they go on the hash mark, they'll go to that wide side of the field. It's a longer throw for Spurgeon Wynn. And basically for a young corner that has to be thrown in there right now, he's got a chance to react on the football an extra second. And they'll put Samuels into the short side of the field. Got a little experience in his second year. But don't be surprised to see Spurgeon Wynn try and attack Fulbright.
So it'll be second and that long. Spurgeon Wynn, the answer to an NFL trivia question. In 2000, he was the last quarterback selected prior to a guy named Tom Brady.
Yeah, all the resources, cash, and the entire hype machine of the National Football League. And sometimes they can make mistakes. You see, T. Martin actually went that year ahead of Spurgeon when you look at the quarterbacks. Chad Pennington putting together a career, but Tom Brady picked way down the list, 199. He's done all right.
Yep, not bad. Great a draft choice of the Cleveland Browns. One start there in one of the worst years in Browns history, and 2 more with Minnesota the next year. Second and short, and Wynn should have the first down.
Interesting draft. That was the draft in 2000. Of course, Sean Alexander was up there. He was picked 19th. The first pick in that draft, Courtney Brown, a defensive end, also went to Cleveland. But interesting draft in that there are 7 players currently from that year in the National Football League drafted that are playing in the Canadian Football League. R.J. Soward being one of them, a first-round pick to Jacksonville. In fact, Wynn played against Soward in his first game in Cleveland.
First down at the Winnipeg 47, and Wynn throws it, grounds the football as Ron Warner was bearing down on him and just evades the sack.
And just to wrap that point up, that play for Spurgeon Wynn, a lot like his first start in Cleveland, where he threw for -2 yards and lost 48-0 to Jacksonville. R.J. Soward was played on the other team at that time, and I asked Wynn, I said, did you see Soward, and what did he do? He's your teammate now. And he said, are you kidding me? I didn't know. I was looking at turf just like he was there.
Doug Barry has thrown out the challenge flag. I think he believes that should have been no grounding the football, but let's see if that I don't believe is challengeable.
No, it's challenge. You can challenge it if it's a fumble. If it's ruled a fumble on the play. In other words, we saw one of these earlier where Spurgeon Wynn looked like he was throwing it forward, and when he was trying to throw it forward, it was ruled a fumble. Therefore, the challenge came from Mike Clements, and it is a reviewable play. If the play is ruled incomplete, it is not reviewable for Doug Barry.
I think Barry had a beef, though. Looked like Spurgeon Wynn grounded that football. And it is loud here at Canad Inns. Wynn's got more than just the Winnipeg defense to deal with on 2nd and 10. Dumps it off, Jeff Johnson. Johnson lost a shoe, but gets close to the first down.
Well, Jeff Johnson has had to take a back seat to Ricky Williams, obviously, when Williams arrived in Toronto. But Johnson, they're a pretty good year last year. In fact, was an important part of this offense. Picked up big yards after catches like this, little dump passes, tough to bring down, low to the ground, has a low center of gravity. Had an 8-yard rushing average last year. As he tries to put his wheel back together, he's got to change a flat tire.
And they're going to send him off. Johnson has to go off. 3rd and 1. It's a football town. They've had some lean years, 12 wins the last 2 seasons, but they're making noise right now in Winnipeg to exhort the defense. The big boys hunker down. And Spurgeon Wynn behind veteran Chad Folk.
Now,
right guard Dave Costa. This will depend on the spot.
It will, and the spot on 3rd down is reviewable if one of either of these two coaches doesn't like the spot. It's not reviewable on 2nd or 1st down because there's another down available to the offense. It is reviewable on 3rd down. Now, how you can review and find evidence in a pile like that, I'm not sure, but it is a reviewable play.
Boy, that was not an impressive surge, and if he got it, there wasn't much to spare.
Oh, I don't know.
That's a link our way. It's Bomber football.
hoping in a lot of ways on a huge play in this football game that the front seven for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come up with a big play.
Barron Simpson goes airborne, and Spurgeon Wynn just didn't get a great push-off.
He caught Barron Simpson right on the left shoulder and Tom Canada on the right. Mike Clemens knew it.
So now the Bombers will try and kickstart their offense. And off the right side, it's Roberts to the 42. But this has looked too much for Doug Barry like last week offensively, when they got 4 first downs in the second half and only 53 yards of offense. The defense has picked up where they left off a week ago.
Well, the offense now, the goal is not even necessarily to score on this series. Kevin Glenn has to give his defensive team a rest on that bench and try and get that field position advantage back. He doesn't necessarily need to score, but you're right, they need some first downs.
Roberts got 5, 2nd and 5. Kevin Glenn has Stiegel. Oh boy, Kenny Wheaton thought he had a pick going the other way.
He did, but Kevin Glenn threw it to the outside shoulder of Milt Stiegel, and he knew his veteran receiver would make the adjustment. Left side of your screen, you're right, Kenny Wheaton comes downhill, has a pretty good jump on the ball, but the accuracy of the throw allows Milt Stiegel to take it on the outside shoulder and turn it up.
So the Bombers finally with the second half first down. An 11-yard pickup at the 53. Back to Roberts. Charles Roberts over 100 yards on the night here in Winnipeg and close to another Bomber first down.
Well, helmets are flying. Jeff Kelly was real upset with the officials, thought he was held in the middle of that Argo defense. And meanwhile, Charles Roberts just keeps churning out the yardage.
They give Roberts 9. In the last 4 years against Toronto, Charles Roberts has averaged 108 yards per against the Bowman. Looks like he's poised to go over that tonight. 2nd and 1. Rechenbald, the big fullback, pushes the pile for another first down.
Well, mission accomplished for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with regards to this drive, no matter how it ends up, other than a turnover, because they've got that field position back. The defense for Winnipeg that have played so well all game long have now got a blow on the sideline. They're resting. They're off their legs. So this drive alone, even if it stopped right now in a punt, is success for Kevin Glenn.
I hear you, but based on last week, the 24th quarter points, the Bombers would feel a whole lot better if they could add to this lead.
Well, no question. I mean, that's your ultimate goal every time you touch the football offensively. But you also have to look at the opponent. It's a veteran team and a veteran defense. And remember, this is a defense that can turn the ball over in a hurry. And being too aggressive offensively right now for Winnipeg could turn this momentum that has been built up by defense all the way back into the Argos' favor with 1 turnover.
3 more for Rechenbald. 2nd and 7 as they get into Westwood range. Flag down. Looks like the Argos jumped. Roberts cut down by Kenny Wheaton. And let's see if indeed the Argos encroached on that 1 yard.
Boy, 2nd and 7. To believe that you can go to your running back, and again, that's an indication that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now basically feel the same way as I do. This drive is a success. 2nd and 7, give it to Charles Roberts. It's a low-risk play. Looks like they may get a chance if the Argos are offside anyway.
Offside. Toronto 75. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Mark Pilon jumped, the man who replaces the retired Noah Cantor. And so instead of 2nd and 7, it'll be 2nd and a couple. The Bombers with a great chance to keep this drive going with 20 seconds, the clock running left here in the 3rd quarter.
The other thing is Kevin Glenn's in field goal range right now.
close to the first down across the 35. Eric England says they're short, and we'll wait for them to unpile. And they'll bring in the chains.
Boy, Charles Roberts did a nice job of finding the handle of that football. That handoff was real high. Kevin Glenn got it up into Roberts' shoulder pads, and talk about turnovers. From an Argos perspective, that's what they need. They need a turnover to change momentum. Block punt, interception, something of that nature.
Third and less than a foot. Time's been out here in the third quarter, and the officials were so worried about the placement they didn't realize the third quarter is over, and now the gun does sound. And we'll come back to Winnipeg. 4 quarters straight ahead. Stats after 3 quarters brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
Well, 2 stories the stats will show you is one, Charles Roberts is having himself a night against one of his heroes in Ricky Williams, who's had just 7 yards, and that's the other story, this Bomber defense.
Bomber defense, and that the Argos apparently have a problem without Damon Allen at quarterback.
Well, and Damon Allen obviously can manage a game and understand that pressure and how to try and get around that pressure from the Winnipeg defense, but they're not doing anything fancy. They're going with 4-man pressure, the 4th down defensive lineman. Doug Brown's having a huge night, so I'm not even sure the great Damon Allen would rescue the Argos out of this one.
Well, it is a vastly improved Winnipeg defense, and now they look at a 3rd down gamble of about a foot. We saw Spurgeon Wynn come up short on a quarterback sneak. And Glenn didn't have to get a full yard, and looks like he slid off the right guard and should have it. I know there are Argo fans saying, why was Wynn sneaking and not handing it off to an all-pro running back like Ricky Williams?
Well, it was 3rd and 1, and you can make an argument. If you got Ricky Williams, why not feed him on that kind of play? I like the quarterback sneak because if you turn around and hand it off to a running back, no matter who it is, you're giving up 2 yards. And I know Ricky Williams can make that 2 yards up in a hurry, but when you give up 2 yards, it allows the defense time to penetrate. Barron Simpson was over the top on that play. I still think the best call is quarterback sneak.
Bombers drive continues at the Argo 34, trying to enhance a 7-point lead. And there's Thurman with a catch. And a first down at the Argo 21, his first of the night.
Thurman's going to line up out here, and he's going to end up working his way back into the middle. And when he does, he finds the opening. Now, it's not a big one, but confidence from Kevin Glenn to throw it in there in between Antonius Bonner and the corner, Jermaine Mays, that hadn't squeezed it down from the outside far enough.
So the Bombers keep moving and are keeping the ball out of the hands of the Argonauts. Back to Charles Roberts. Roberts crashing down to the 16. Met by Kelly and Bonner. Kevin Ivan back in, missed a series.
Coming in, it was Charles Roberts that went over yesterday and introduced himself to Ricky Williams. Said he thought he seemed like a very nice guy and quite quiet. And then Ricky Williams again saying, I'm interested to see Charles Roberts. He led the league last year, and Roberts is putting on a show.
Welcome to my backyard. 4 receivers wide side, and Chris Brazel was across off the mark early.
Oh, baby. And, you know, Charles Roberts was upset after that whistle blew because I think this was a special play designed for him. I mean, they had all the receivers, Kevin Glenn did, to the right side of the formation, and he turned around, and you could see Kevin Glenn was going to turn around and hand the ball to Roberts. He was like, no!
Still 2nd down.
The hole was there, the play was there, and you may not get another chance.
Well, they're calling it a time count, so Brazel was apparently timing his run to the line, and it wasn't Brazel offside, it was a time count violation. So it's back at the 21, second and 10, and a quarterback draw. Kevin Glenn to the 11, and he'll be close to a first down. Ran through a would-be tackle along the way. And it does move the sticks.
The play works well, first of all, by formation. Second of all, by execution. Really, the only guy that can make that tackle is right there. I believe it's Jeff Kelly. And the reason they know that is because they put Charles Roberts to the wide side of the field at wideout to eliminate any other linebackers in the box. Charles Roberts right to the outside.
First down at the 10, back to Roberts. And Roberts to the 6. It looked like Fiacone on that last Kevin Glenn carry just got enough of Michael O'Shea to make sure.
Well, that's what it does, Chris, because if you put Charles Roberts out at wide receiver, the Argonauts defensively have to spread out. You see Charles Roberts is out here. Now they have to spread out. How are you going to cover Charles Roberts? They leave the corner out there, but they widen the linebackers at the line of scrimmage. Now the offensive line for Winnipeg know who they have to block.
Second and 5. A pump and in the end zone behind Brazel. Incomplete. In a battle with Jordan Younger. And a late flag. A couple of penalty markers down. And a rough play called against the Argos.
Oh boy. That play designed to Chris Brazel was a post pattern, a quick post across the middle or slant route. He had to make an adjustment. Glenn
After the play, unnecessary roughness. Toronto number 9. Unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg. Third down.
Well, not sure who it was. Toronto number 9 is on the sidelines with a cast on his hand.
Yeah, was in our booth for part of the third quarter, but I know he's a fast healer. I think he made it for the fourth quarter, but clearly,
but offsetting penalties, and it brings Troy Westwood in the field goal unit on. But as you mentioned, it was a successful drive with the first 2 or 3 first downs, and they've chewed up some clock and now in a position where Westwood can make it a 10-point Winnipeg lead.
Yeah, and the 10-point, the 3 points that he's trying right now, that's the bonus in this drive. The field position was important. This is the bonus if he makes it.
And he does. And so 16-6 the score. Bombers with the lead. For every sack in tonight's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. And since the program began back in 2003, over 700,000 pounds of food have been raised for Canadian food banks. And we talked to the guys from Purolator yesterday, and they want to up those totals. They're shooting for 1 million pounds of food, and the fans here in Winnipeg helping with donations here at the game today. Stokes on the return. Flag down to Stokes. Bursts all the way to midfield. But likely this one to be negated. Well, Spurgeon Wynn has to answer that Winnipeg drive. 13 plays. It took 8 minutes and 18 seconds off the clock.
Boy, and Kevin Glenn, that's a big one for Kevin Glenn in a lot of ways. Not just in this game, but even in the bigger picture.
Holding. Toronto number 52. 10-yard penalty. First down.
You got Kevin Glenn, and of course with Spurgeon Wynn coming back to Winnipeg, people questioning the trade after Wynn in his first play against Hamilton when Damon Allen got hurt through a touchdown pass, and a lot of talk about whether or not the right quarterback stayed in Winnipeg, and that drive will go a long way to answering those questions.
Brendan Taman is breathing a lot easier right now. 22 net yards for the Argos. It's a botch snap. Flags fly, and there was early movement. I mean, Winnipeg did a terrific job last week holding Anthony Calvillo to 265 net yards offense.
Illegal procedure. Toronto number 19. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
So it's 1st and 15, the procedure call against Wynn. But this is a combination of great defense and just an offense sputtering with a backup quarterback.
Well, yeah, and if it's taking him a little bit longer to make those decisions and the defense is on fire, it's a bad combination for that offense.
Williams, the drop play, kicks it outside. And across the 25, his best gain of the night. And Baron Simpson gets in his grill.
Baron Simpson has been right up in the kitchen of Ricky Williams all game long. And in short yardage. I'm not sure it was Simpson this time that made the big hit. I think Williams got to the outside, and it looked like Stanford Samuels, number 16, right there. He gets initial contact, but then it was Simpson and Ricky Williams stopped him.
Samuels, the 21-year-old out of Florida State. Second down, a win. Tried to step up, but he's wrapped up by Ron Warner. And this front seven of the Bombers continues to shine.
Little stunt up front, and they involve Baron Simpson in the stunt. Here's Simpson here. Watch how he's going to roll around to the outside. He's going to come outside and get pressure from the outside. That slants the defensive line. Doug Brown comes down, Warner comes around, and he gets there first. But the play of that entire defensive line, there's Brown. Watch him slant across the face right there of Mike Mihalik, opening up his partner.
Obtained a kick on 3rd and 6. Line drive over the head of Fulbright. And Fulbright stopped back at the Winnipeg 36-yard line. Coming up following this game, Sports Center with Darren Detition and Holly Horton. And get this, Canuck fan, a multiplayer deal. The Canucks and the Panthers, you got it. Todd Bertuzzi's going one way, Roberto Luongo the other. More involved, and Dutch and Holly will have all the details coming up following this game. And Charles Roberts outside. At the 44 more for Mr. Roberts, who has been the most dangerous offensive weapon on the night.
Yeah, and it's that time to give a little credit up front to an offensive line that were criticized over the last couple of days, well, at least early on in the practice week from their head coach. And you look across that line, and especially Mike Abu-Meshrik, who had his problems. Boy, he's really stepped his game up. He's not playing against a rookie.
Second down, pressure. Jonathan Brown with a huge hit.
Yeah.
And Eric England on the other side of that Kevin Glenn sandwich.
Yeah, and guess what I did? I jinxed Mike Abu-Meshrik, because the moment I said it, and I talked about not playing against a rookie. Well, he's not playing against a rookie because the guy he's playing against is Jonathan Brown, number 97. And Jonathan Brown, just as I was reaping the praises of Mike Abu-Meshrik, went right around him like a turnstile.
That was the hit of the night. Brown, who was ejected last week for a flare-up after he was kicked in the nether regions. Clayburn to kick it away. Stokes at his 41. And steps out at the 53. Argos with good field position. They've got time. It's just a 10-point Winnipeg lead. Let's check the game story here in Winnipeg.
Charles Roberts, huge game tonight against one of his heroes growing up, Ricky Williams. Not so good from Williams. Play that defense.
Well, they wanted Williams to touch the ball a lot in the fourth quarter, but the 10-point deficit might dictate not. We've only seen him really utilized as a pass receiver once, I believe, and that ball went through his hands.
That was a screen pass early on, yeah, and he was just, the timing was just not there between Williams and Spurgeon Wynn. And that was quite a while ago. Now they're going to have to try and push the ball down the field, but there's plenty of time.
And this one of the most feeble offensive efforts in recent years for the Argos. Strawberry top, second catch, but he paid a price. There's the youngster Fulbright, the wide side corner replacing Omar Evans.
This is playing aggressive football. You know what it does? Is it can continue your momentum or grab it if you don't have momentum. This is a win for the offense. This play is a win. This is what Spurgeon Wynn wanted to do. He wanted to get 5 yards on first, get it out to the outside. 5 yards and a headache. That is a win if you're thinking offensively. But because of the big hit, Winnipeg grabs some momentum. Or keeps it, I should say.
Talbot got 6, second and 4. Wynn got it away. And it is a catch for Tony Miles and a first down at the Bomber 41 as Wynn got it away before Barron Simpson got to the quarterback.
Barron Simpson did that exact same stunt that we saw earlier. He comes around the corner. He starts out here. He's going to come around this side. And he gets the defensive line to slant. Warner goes left. He goes right. He's in the backfield.
Tony Miles has 4 catches on the night. Remember, Winnipeg led by 10 in the fourth quarter a week ago. Charlton got to Wynn and blew up that play. Incomplete to Ricky Williams.
Another guy who's had a pretty good night on defense has been Charlton, and we haven't talked about him probably enough. He's a guy that's so active to the football. We've seen Barron Simpson on a lot of those stunts, and he's brought some pressure. Charlton has been the guy that's mopped it up all the way around the field. Sideline to sideline for Charlton.
Remember, a redesigned Winnipeg defense. All 3 starting linebackers from a year ago gone. Second and 10. Time overthrows Bruce, and does Miles make the catch? No. I'm not sure if he was the intended receiver or not. Bruce went up in the air. It looked like he tried to bring it down. In any event, incomplete third down.
Indecision, basically, from Spurgeon Wynn. I'm not sure who he was trying to hit there. No Prefontaine, who's already made a 50-yard field goal, 52, I should say, in this game tonight. Lines up for what will be about a 47-yarder.
Trying to get this back within a converted touchdown. Lyman holding. And 2 long field goals. Noel Prefontaine keeps the Argos in it with 5:21 to play. Well, Noel Prefontaine has been the offense tonight. 3 for 3 field goals and now a 7-point Bomber lead. Winnipeg did not win its first last year till week 5. They've still got some work to do tonight. So back to Roberts. Dragged down after a short gain as we check back in with safety Orlando Steinauer. Sounds of the game.
There we go. Do you see my car?
Yeah. The one to the field is going to hurt us, so you got to see it. Yeah, Osh! Way to play football, Osh! Woo! Boy, TS said, I'll tell you what, I've had my chances tonight.
Yeah, he has. That one stolen from him early on.
Quarterback of the defense, 2nd and 7. Glenn ducks out, but nowhere to go. And it's a 2 and out at a critical time, and look who was in the middle of it again.
Yeah, it was Orlando Steinauer. Comes up there and does a nice job of not only quarterbacking, getting people lined up, but he also fills that pretty well. He's seen this quarterback sneak a couple of times, and if the middle linebacker is blocked, then of course the safety right in the middle is the next line of defense. Steinauer is going to be just over here in your screen. He's going to fill quickly when he sees Kevin Glenn take off.
So Claiborne in. Former Bomber Keith Stokes, who was looking forward to his return. And a big return here could help fuel an Argo comeback. They run as much time off the clock. A high, short kick out at the Argo bench. And Toronto in decent shape with 3:43 to go, and a little set two between Jeff Keeping and Adrian Baird. They get separated before any flags fly, even though that looked like about a 15-second tussle.
And now, you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a team that's coming off a real tough year. And a tough week one. A week one that they probably felt like they played well enough to win for 3 quarters and just didn't close it out. A team that's trying to find themselves has to find ways to win football games. This is when you find out how to close a game.
Doug Barry has to be steamed. A 27-yard punt at a critical time for Claiborne. Sprints and win, and Ron Warner's got him again, and Doug Brown holding on underneath. And Warner and Brown share the glory there.
Boy, Doug Brown has been dominant. That's the word I would use. Doug Brown has been dominant. This is a swim move. He's going to bring his right arm up over the top right there. And you can see how badly that he beats his opponent. I believe it was Mike Mahalen.
Second and 15. Flag down. That play doesn't get on. Gavin Walls jumped quickly.
Yeah, but did Gavin Walls get back? He's arguing that, yeah, he stepped into the neutral zone. He wasn't in a three-point stance, and he stepped back.
And that's why they stopped playing. Gavin Walls was drawn. And it's going against the Argos.
Illegal procedure. Toronto number 62. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Jonathan Landon in for McHallick at guard. And the 3-minute warning being given to the benches. So we'll take a timeout and return to Canad Inns Stadium in the paint. Now this rabid, close to a sellout crowd in Winnipeg, on their feet. As the Argos look at 2nd and 21. With just under 3 minutes to go. Spurs and win. Under pressure, and down he goes. Ron Warner's got his 3rd of the game. And there is a penalty marker on the play. Well, these Bombers wearing their throwback jerseys tonight, and this has been a throwback game defensively.
Can't take your helmet off on the field. Not sure if that's the penalty.
After the play, objectionable conduct. Winnipeg 94, helmet violation. 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
And Ron Warner's just saying he forgot. You know, he was pretty excited after yet another sack. Nice tandem play up front from Doug Brown and Ron Warner. I mean, Warner's going to get the sack. Doug Brown helps him out with it. Here they are, 2. There's 1. There's 2. Watch how Doug Brown slices across the face of Warner, and Warner comes underneath it. There he goes. Little X play in there.
Big kick. And look out. Oh, great tackle there. On Andre Thurman, made by Chris Hardy. Otherwise, Thurman looked like he was going to run for a while. Well, the Bombers have repeated offensively what they did last week. The first possession touchdown, a good first half. Not nearly as impressive on offense in the second half, but has Kevin Glenn done enough to give Doug Barry his first CFL win?
Not yet, he hasn't. I mean, there's the difference in halves. And this is where you try to learn to win.
6 2-and-outs in the second half for the Bombers against this top Argo It's close to 5, and no surprise that number 1 would get the ball in this situation.
You know, and the Argos made some defensive adjustments. They have come out in the second half defensively and played better football. You saw the numbers that would show you that. And this is the time that Rich Stubler knows Charles Roberts is going to get the football. And as they try and kill the clock, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Defensive coordinators like Stubler will send pressure. Linebackers send the house. Got nothing to lose.
Now play gets whistled in. Not sure what that delay was about, but it's a 2nd and 6 for Winnipeg with just under 2.5 minutes to play. Argos defense looks for a 2-and-out, and they're going to get it as Roberts stopped behind the line of scrimmage.
Middle linebacker Jeff Kelly, well, not necessarily a true middle linebacker, simply because Rich Stubler plays a 34 defense, which means there's 4 linebackers back there, so there's really 2 of them. And to the left of your screen, it's going to be Jeff Kelly that's going to get penetration, step up into this one. Right there is where the play is made. Kelly makes the play. O'Shea makes the tackle, but Jeff Kelly makes the play through penetration.
Still plenty of time for the Argonauts, and they're going to get the ball in good shape here. And again, the rookie punter, Brian Claiborne, has not had a terrific night. Last kick was 27 yards. They have brought in another punter this week, and so he's looking over his shoulder.
But he has to get it out of bounds. I'm sure he's been instructed that.
Angling it. Stokes will have a return. Across the 50. And into Winnipeg territory, fumbled. But he's backed up. And the Argos maintain possession. Chris Hardy, the Manitoba product, with the ball. Welcome back. They jumped the gun on us, and a swing pass to Ricky Williams across midfield into the Winnipeg end at the 52. A couple of yards. Let's take a look at the play.
Williams in the backfield. You see him get out of there quickly. And when he does, makes a nice move in the open field. He'll spin move, get some yardage on first down. Now Sauer comes in on this passing down, and Williams goes out.
2nd and 9. And he pulls it down, and down he goes. It's a sack for the safety, Ron Ackerman. And the pressure package of the Bombers eating up the Argos in the second half.
Ron Ackerman slides down. Greg Marshall, famous for rotating safeties with linebackers. Ackerman comes down in here. He's going to end up sliding to the outside.
3rd down. Argos have to go for it. Swinging it out for Jeff Johnson. And Johnson stopped at the Winnipeg 50. And it's a turnover on downs.
Wow. And I'm wondering if this week the first question for Mike Clements was, or will be, should you have punted? Now, after the fact, you're over a minute to play. You kick it into the corner. It's easy to second guess when it doesn't work. But I'm not so sure there wasn't time to punt it and get the ball back.
You know, we had David Allen in early in the 3rd quarter, and he talked about this is an offense that goes downfield. They don't swing a lot of passes out, not many screens, and it was a bit of an unusual call on 3rd and more than 10.
You can't go downfield when you have defensive linemen in your face.
The Bombers just have to protect the football, and Charles Roberts will pad his offensive stats.
Interesting to see if the Argos can hold Winnipeg here to one more play and a punt. How much time they would have remaining on the clock and how much of a difference in field position it would be. Again, it's easy to do when the play doesn't work for Toronto, but
4 yards for Roberts. 2nd and 6. We're in the final minute. Charles Roberts again. And he'll will be stacked up short of the first down, and battle for the football. And Jeff Kelly will out his helmet in the middle of it, and the Bombers want to make sure there's no penalties taken at this juncture. And time now for Glenn's Gladiator.
Well, I don't think there's any question who deserves it tonight. The man in the middle of that defense. I use the word dominant, and maybe it's not strong enough. Brian Chu kind of gave us the heads up a week ago in Montreal. So watch Doug Brown. He's playing some great football, and boy, did he have a game tonight. And honorable mention to Warner right beside him.
That's a pretty impressive tandem. Warner
I didn't get a sword last time, man. We're going to have to pick up with that. Also need one for my 3 technique, I think.
Your 3 technique looks pretty good to me. Not so good to Spurgeon Wynn.
So does the front 7 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Timeout called by Winnipeg.
Well, here you go. I mean, inside of 30 seconds for Mike Clemens, if he gets the ball here, depending on where Stokes get to, how long it takes. You know, he punts the ball rather than gamble on 3rd and long with 1:17 to go.
Your right field position, had they got the 2 and out after pinning Winnipeg, they'd be taking the ball around midfield on a night where Brian Clayburn has not kicked the ball well for the Bombers.
And there's been 1 bad snap on a punt for Winnipeg.
And they don't want to give Stokes a chance of a return, but they'll get a chance to run this one back a little way, not far. Good cover, Neil McKinley downfield.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions.
So a last gasp for the Argos, 16 seconds to go. Doug Barry that close to his first victory as a CFL head coach in this Eastern Division matchup that would leave both teams even at 1-1, barring a miracle for the boatmen as Wynn guns it downfield through the hands of R.J. Sauer.
Oh, he had a chance. Oh, did he have a chance? He made a nice little move to get back inside at the end of that play, and that ball went right through his hands. Here's the end of it. And you see that move to get inside position on Anthony Marlborough, and that goes right through his hands. And now the secondary for the Bombers are going to drop 4 deep. You may even see 5.
5 down. Walls seem to jump. And was he drawn again?
You know, this, if the Bombers can hold on for 7 more seconds, is so much bigger a win for them than game 2 in the regular season, even if it's a divisional game. A team that has struggled, a team with new personnel, 8 new players on the defensive side of the ball from a year ago, 12 of 24 starters new to this organization, including their head coach and defensive coordinator.
Illegal procedure. Toronto 69. Penalty is declined. It'll still be 2nd down. The clock will start on the whistle. Timekeeper, please reset the clock to 8 seconds.
Bernard Williams. Argos go to BC next week. They'll have their hands full there. Winnipeg will take a 1-1 record to Edmonton next Saturday, Canada Day. And the word will be out. This Bomber defense is impressive. One going deep. Jump ball, and Bruce goes up. And it falls incomplete. And that is the football game. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers win their home opener and give Doug Barry his first victory
Charles Roberts in the showdown between the CFL's leading rusher and a former NFL leading rusher. That competition won handily by Charles Roberts.
16-9 the final, but this game a little more lopsided than that. The Bombers win their first of the year.